I learned that I didn't like this book. 2024 has been a wild year for books, so grab your tea, grab your coffee, and get ready for my shocking reviews of the best and worst books of this year. The year is pretty much over, and I've already achieved my reading goal for the year, so I read over 50 books. I read 51 books as of today as I film this. Yay! So I'm going to be reviewing the best and the worst books that I read this year. Starting off with my best books. I have a list of questions here too as well, but I'm going to answer them as I go. It's only 3 questions and a 4th one for the worst books. So starting off with my best books, I'm going to start off with the first one, which is Their Vicious Games. So for my first question, it's what kind of medium I read it. So physical book, ebook, audiobook. Obviously I read it for the physical book. All right, question number 2, what stood out about this book? What stood out to me was the characters. More so of the fact that a lot of the girls in the book obviously come from money. They come from various backgrounds, but they all want this crusty, dusty boy for some reason. Because obviously the family that he comes from is a family of wealth and prestige, but they also come from wealth and prestige. So what makes him so special? Like, what makes their family so special? That's what really got me questioning throughout this book. But each of the girls are just they are so messy, and the fact that they were so willing to do this just shows that this isn't new. I mean, obviously they've done it before. They've done it for generations. They stated it in the book. But it was still just jarring to read. Like, when I read books, I can actually see it like kind of play out as a movie in my head. So it was very jarring to read it, how these girls would be so quickly to essentially kill each other. Like, they were so willing to do that. They were just so not even eager, but they were so desperate. There you go, that's the word. They were extremely desperate to do so, to become part of this family. Like, it was very wild to me. Number 3, what did I learn from this book? I learned that essentially from our main character, Adina, I've learned that whenever it comes to like certain situations, you can't let people take you out of your character, because that's what got her into the situation. If she never got out of her character in the first place, she would have never been part of the games, like, at all. She never would have been part of it if she just acted in character. Next up is I Feed Her to the Beast, and the Beast is me. I'm just going to put it up here. So I got this from the library, obviously still a physical copy, but I had to return it, obviously. What stood out for me in this book was the premise, really. I've loved the show Tiny Pretty Things. I know it's based off the books, but I really loved that ballet story of it, and so reading it in this book was very fascinating to me, because I still love that world. Like, it's always so fascinating because it's something that I don't know. I'm not part of that world, obviously. I'm not a dancer anymore. And so reading like about a Black ballet dancer and getting into the world of ballet and trying to become one of like the best dancers, and, you know, the one that's always requested, it really is just something that I found extremely fascinating. I love reading about it, but the fact you add in the twist of her selling her soul to like essentially a demon / devil thing, obviously something I'm gonna love, because it has both elements of something so different with intrigue and mystery, and something truly heinous and terrifying, which I absolutely love. What did I learn from this book? I learned, oh God, that power isn't all that it's cracked up to be. I mean, I feel like that's easy to say for someone that doesn't have power, but it's just not all that it's cracked up to be, because you can engage in some really heinous activities and very heinous mindset. It's like it could be literally like demonizing to be in a position of power like that. And that's something that I feel like me myself personally, like, you know, having power is obviously something that I would love to have, but to get that level of power where you can actually control people is kind of mind-boggling, because it's kind of like you're literally like you're playing God. I don't believe in God, but you're essentially you're playing God, because you're playing with how people react to you. You're playing with their emotions, their mindset, how they behave around you, how they behave around other people. You're influencing them in ways that is freaking wild to me, to the point where they might, either themselves or somebody else. Library was Where Sleeping Girls Lie. So this book, obviously, I read it as a physical book. So what stood out about this book to me, what stood out for Where Sleeping Girls Lie is, all of it was really good. I guess what really stands out to me is how quick it happened at the beginning. Like, literally, our main character's roommate immediately goes missing. Like, there's like not even like a week that goes by. Literally, it's the next day. Like, how quick that really happened is what really stood out to me. You're thrown into this chaos and with our main character, she already had a lot of chaos going on in her own personal life, prior to her starting school. And it just showed us, like, girl, does drama really just follow you all around all the time? Like, what is going on? Like, did you do something that somebody is like all up your ass on, to get to the point where literally you go to a new school after losing your father and like your entire family. You go to a new school and immediately your roommate's missing. Like, at first when I read that part, it made me think, like, what does she do? Like, someone must have it out for her personally for this to be happening. I immediately thought that she was the problem. So yeah, that really just stood out to me. What did I learn from this book? Don't go to a private school, and don't trust any boys at that school unless if one is like super awkward and nice. Other than that, don't trust any of the boys there at all. Which will never happen, because I am literally going into my 30s, so I will not be going back to school like that anyway. My master's, that's different. I'm not going to like a private school. I'm not a teenager. But still, I feel like that was the lesson I learned. Next up is Beasts of War. So put the image up here. This one I actually read as an audiobook. So what stood out to me about this book? I think it was one of the scenes specifically of a type of like water creature that was like, not even water creature, it was like underground creature that was like kind of like moving the earth, essentially like moving the ground. I felt that really stood out to me because of just like how Ayana Gray depicts the character, the setting, the movement, the chaos of it all. I felt like that really stood out to me when I was listening to it. I was just like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Like, this is wild. This is crazy. But I also just loved how literally our main character was just like, she was really just pleading with everybody to be like, can y'all help me? Your brother is trying to kill everyone. They're like, oh, fuck. Pretty much, you're just like, I could help you, but I don't want to. It's just all of the gods were extremely fickle. That was another thing that stood out to me. So what did I learn from this book? I didn't really learn anything from this book. I just really loved it. I feel like it was just a lot of chaos. It was very fast paced. I loved it. I just loved the scenery. I loved the imagery of it. So there was nothing that I learned. I just really enjoyed it. Next up is The Perfect Ruin. So this one I read on Audible. So what stood out to me about this book? The lengths the main character was willing to go to really like go after this woman. I feel like that's what really stands out to me, because our main character was relentless. Like, she was ready to destroy this woman. I don't want to give away the entire thing, but essentially our main character lost her parents due to a car accident, and now she's in therapy, and her therapist actually gets a piece of paper with a person's name on it, and the person's name on it is the one that essentially killed her parents. Mind you, it's a car accident, so it's not like it was on purpose or anything, but our main character is like hell-bent on like getting revenge on this woman. She's pissed, she's hurt, she's angry, so she's like, I want to destroy your world like you destroyed mine, that type of energy. But our main character, she was buck wild. Okay, she was really going at it. I mean, she was a little bit out there. Just saying. So what did I learn from this book? Again, I really didn't learn anything. No, actually, I did learn something. Don't trust everyone. That is part of, I guess I would say, the twist of the book. All right, next up on the list is One of Us Knows. I read this one also on Audible. So what stood out to me about this book? So our main character has DID. That's what really stands out to me, because that is one mental illness that I always find extremely fascinating. Even when I was studying in school, I found it like just so fascinating, so intriguing, and to this day I still. For those that don't know what DID is dissociative identity disorder, and so this disorder essentially creates personas that protect the host. So the host being like your actual self, and these different personas, they take on a life of their own. Like they actually have like their own names. Some of them may have like their own backgrounds. They could be different ethnicities. And the thing is, you don't know what personality is coming out. And sometimes the host will have a tick where another personality will take over, but sometimes they don't. It can really just be like a switch like that. And it's so intriguing to even just see it like in person, because you don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know how the process looks like. You don't know what's going on. But the fact that they can like shift personalities, and then all of a sudden you're talking to a white man named Ted, that it just comes out of left field. But also so sad, because for someone to have a DID, they had to go through a traumatic experience. And so for them to have to go through a traumatic experience is already depressing. It's sad. You have a lot of empathy for the person, because it's like, what happened for your brain to take over the way that it did? Like, you don't have just depression. You don't have just anxiety. You have personalities. Like, that's a whole different level. And also because it's a Black woman too, because I've never really read a book of a Black woman with DID, or neither have I seen it in any type of media. So what did I learn from this book? Again, don't trust a whole bunch of people. You can't trust not a darn person. You can't trust a soul. Yeah, because I don't want to give just like the summary of it, but our main character, she has DID, and she ends up going to work in this castle, and as the host, she finally is able to be in control, and she doesn't know how she got this job. She doesn't know why she's going there. Like, she has no idea. In her other personalities, all of them, they have no idea how the hell this happened either. Like, they don't know who took over, what transpired for them to end up working at this castle. But you also get a glimpse inside her mind, and inside her mind where all the personalities live, they live in a house. And so they're all like roommates, essentially. Like, they all acknowledge each of the personalities, and typically they end up going to like the door to take over, which is the consciousness. But yeah, but then there's a personality that is a personality that's missing, and there's just other weird stuff going on inside of her head as well, along with her being in this very weird situation. Also has a really dark history tied to it as well. There's a lot of different twists. I don't want to give them away, but it's a freaking amazing book. I highly recommend it. I really just learned, like, not to trust everybody. Not even your other personalities, because sometimes your other personalities, they be on something too. This is for, obviously those were just DID. But yeah, it was wild. It was a wild ride. It was very good. But yeah, don't trust other people, especially other men. Back to the men again. Men, boys, just don't trust them. I feel like that's the energy. Those are the lessons I really learned from this book and my previous book. All right, next up on the list is Children of Blood and Bone. Now this one, I think I listened to it on Audible. I have the physical copy, but I think I read it on Audible before I bought it. Yeah. I think so. We're gonna go with that. That's what we're gonna go with. But yeah, so what stood out to me about this book? I mean, it's African mythology. Black characters with with magical powers. What wouldn't stand out to me? I mean, that's literally something that I've become, I become very much like drawn to, not only just like gothic and gothic horror books, but also just like Black people in fantasy. Like, that's the only way I'm going to be able to read fantasy is if a Black person is in it. So, of course, I'm going to gravitate towards it. And what did I learn? I can't say I learned anything. I just loved it. I really just loved the story. I loved learning the background of the different mythologies and just like getting to know the characters and the world that they live in. Yeah, I just loved it. Like, I literally just opened up the book and I was just like, all right, here we go. Like, you know, I was just like immediately pulled into their world and the characters, getting to know them. And I'm gonna read the other ones. I'm gonna read the other ones too. That's probably gonna be a next year thing because I got some other books to read. But it was just really good. The smile on my face should say everything. It was just so freaking good. I love the characters. I love everything about it. I didn't learn a darn thing, but it was just that good, that entertaining. The writing is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, that's it. This bad boy is next up on the list, and that is She Started It. This is obviously a physical copy that I read, and what stood out to me about the book, the different women in the story really stand out to me because obviously you have to really cultivate different personalities for them. And these women are vastly different from each other. Like, one of them, I can't remember. I'll have to find it in a second. But one of the girls, she is literally like the epitome of like a mean, stuck up, bougie type of white girl. You know, I found it. It's Chloe. Chloe was extremely just like that type of character. Like, I'm just gonna read a little bit of it. This is chapter 6. So each chapter is a different person's perspective. It's Annabelle, Esther, Tanya, and Chloe. And so on Chloe's part, she says, Poppy's nose job looks wonky. I'm sorry, but it does. Not that we're squashed up next to each other in this hot tub, which, by the way, is incredible. I'm right opposite to her, and I can still see a little bump on the left side. It's tiny but noticeable. What a shame to have spent thousands of pounds on that travesty. Like, she just sounds like a heinous, you know? And I feel like that is so hard to create characters that you just purely, absolutely hate. And it's not even like them being cartoonish. Like, she sounds like an actual person that you have met or at least have seen before. Like, she's very real, and when you read her parts, you're just like, ooh, okay, yeah. Hopefully you're first, because it is like a whodunit, so obviously people die, essentially. But yeah, that's the energy I get from this one. And what did I learn from the book? People are messy. People are extremely messy. Even your best friends are extremely messy, and not even like, oh my god, we're both chaotic, we're a mess. It's like, no, sometimes they're just straight up like, some of your friends are just straight up crazy, or they just straight up don't like you. And it kind of helps you kind of like use your discernment when it comes to who's actually a true friend or just someone that you've latched onto because you have years with them. Like, you know, like, there's a difference between having like an actual genuine friendship of 20 years and just being around somebody because you've known them from 20 years. It's very much like that when it comes to the friend group. Next up is The Lost Bookshop. So I read this one on my Kindle, and what stood out to me about this book is literally the fact that it's a lost bookshop. It's essentially, it has magical realism to it because this bookshop was there years ago, and then all of a sudden it just like disappears. and our male main character is looking for it and trying to find like a lost book too as well. Yeah, I mean, I felt like that just really stood out to me. It was just really the premise of it, but also the woman that our female main character stays with. She stands out a lot because I don't want to give it away though. I don't want to give it away because when you read it, you'll be truly shocked as to how it all plays out. But yeah, leading into what did I learn from this book? Family can and will sell you out no matter what. And so like this book covers a little bit in the past. I think it was like not even the 1900s. I think it was like the late 1800s. I think it was. And especially during this time period as you read the book, even your family doesn't want the best for you. They just want you out of their hair. There are family members like that who will strictly just straight up just put you out on the street and do not care about you at all, regardless if you're all blood related or not. All right, last book on the list is The Writing Retreat. So obviously I read it as a physical copy, and what stood out to me was the author, not essentially the actual author of the book, Julia Bartz, but the author in the book is what stood out to me. She stands out very, very in a very interesting way. So the lesson I essentially learned from it is that do not idolize people. But another thing I did learn is the method that is done in here, which is pretty much like writing a book within like a week, I believe it was. Yeah. So in the book, they had to rewrite a whole new story, and it has to be about 81,000 words. So that means they had to write at least 3,000 new words every day, 12 double-spaced pages, and they had to do that within a day. So essentially, they had like a month to work on this project, and I felt like that was something interesting to try to implement. I might do a separate video on this and using this method. It's gonna be pure chaos, obviously, but I feel like that would be very interesting to incorporate in my writing. Just like completely take one of my ideas, probably my thriller. I'll probably do that with my thriller. It's just like take it with my idea. I barely have anything written anyway, and just like really like do this type of method where I hardcore work on it for a month, like writing 3,000 words a day. I think that'd be very interesting to see how that turns out. Someone put that in the comments below to keep me going for that. Yeah. So someone in the comments, please just remind me to actually do that. That will probably be going up sometime next year. There we go. Hold me accountable, please. If any of these books so far made it into your list for best or for worst, please drop it in the comments below. I would love to hear your input. Now we're on to my stack of worst books of 2024. So I'm just going to pre-warn you now. This is my opinion. Please don't get butthurt. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. So the first one is The Girl Who Lived Twice. I'm going to put it up here. I read this on Audible. God, it was not good. So when it comes to the next question, what stood out to me, it could be, obviously the good or the bad of it. But what stood out to me in a not good way is the different POVs. It was a lot going on for that story, and I couldn't remember who was who was related to who was important, who wasn't important. Like, it was just too many characters, too many subplots, POVs. It was just too much going on. Like, I just needed only like maybe 3 people max with POVs. It was like 6 people. It felt like 6 people because it was like our main character and then the people he was trying to get help to find out this man's identity, and then the actual girl too, and then there was like a mayor involved. It was too messy. Like, it was just too much all over the place, and I couldn't get through. Luckily I got through it. I didn't DNF. I finished it, but it just took so much out of me at the beginning because there was just too many characters going on. I had no idea what the hell was going on. It was too much. And then when it finally got to like focusing on who is this man, I was finally like, thank you, finally some clarity. Can we just stick with this, please? Like, I don't need anyone else's opinion. I don't need to learn any other characters or who they are to somebody. I don't care for them. I don't know these people. Leave me alone. Which leads to the next question. What did I learn? I learned that I didn't like this book. Next up is All I've Wanted, All I've Needed. And this was on my Kindle. What stood out to me, I made notes on this book a lot on my Kindle. Like, there's a lot of things that I like highlighted, and I did like a separate video on that of just like me like pretty much tearing the book to shreds. I'm just gonna wrap it up here, but like what stood out to me is that everyone was too nice. Like, everyone was a little bit too supportive, you know? Like, there wasn't really any drama. Like, there wasn't like a bad guy. Like, we're supposed to have an antagonist and a protagonist. And even the supposedly antagonist being her ex-boyfriend, he didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't even like, he didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't really written in to be like trying to start mess or anything like that. Like, he wasn't really integrated all that much. And even what the things that he did do was very much like surface level. Like, no one stood out to me. No characters were bland and supportive. Our main character was bland as well too. Like, I couldn't get with anything about the book. And somehow I finished the book, which is still a shocker to me. So then leading into the last question, which is obviously, what did I learn? I learned I need more drama. This book just wasn't for me. I forgot. The actual last question for this section. What would I change? Give me some drama. Give me some messy characters. Give me something. All right. Third book. 3 Dark Crowns. Yeah, three. Anyway, yeah. So this is obviously the physical copy that I read, and what stood out to me was the ending, because we literally have all this built up of these other areas, not even like other countries, like other areas where these sisters live, all the way up to this ending, which I thought was going to be like the most of the book. I thought it was going to be like a good half of the book, maybe even more than that. And the ending was terrible. It's like, what do I even call it? Like, what was it? Like, not even like a battle. It was like show your gifts type of thing. It was so dull. Like, there was no messiness whatsoever. It was very much like, show us your gifts, and then the sisters showed their gifts, their powers. Like, I thought this was going to be more like the Hunger Games type of thing, or maybe like even like the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, like some type of oomph to it, you know? But it all led up to nothing. It felt like they were just like, it felt like auditions for a musical. Literally, it felt like everyone's sitting in an auditorium waiting for people to perform on stage. It literally felt like watching High School Musical, and even that is more entertaining than this book. I'm ragging on this book so hard, sorry. But it really didn't give anything, so I didn't learn anything either. Maybe I just learned that I can't do world building, so I already know now. If I can't do a lot of world building, I can't read Sarah J. Maas, because I need to get to the point. Like, you can give me like a good like 50 pages of world building, that's fine. Like, you know, give me like a little bit of info. But then after those 50 pages, we gotta get like right into the mess. Like, as soon as I hit page 50, like I need someone dead, something. Like, I need some drama, like right on cue. Like, I can't do all that world building and lead up to nothing. And then you gotta read all these other books in this series, or even just like the 2 other books that come after this one. And it's like, what for? You should have had all of that in the first book, or at least half of it in the first book. So yeah, I mean, like, that's what I would change. Is just like add a little bit more oomph to it. Like, give me some mystery, some some thrill, something. I don't know. Shoot, like have one of the sisters go to the other sister's area and like poison somebody that's very important to them or something like that. I want you to cause chaos. I want to see, literally, if I'm going to read a fantasy book, I want to see like bows flying. I want to see you guys like battling it out, someone getting stabbed, the wrong person getting stabbed, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my god, you literally stabbed your own brother or something like that. Like I need something more. Like it was just, it fell flat for me. And yeah, it just fell flat. All right, number 4, The Return. Read it physically, obviously. And what stood out to me? Nothing. This book was completely forgettable. Nothing stood out. It was even scary. Like I've seen this on my Pinterest as like a horror story. This book wasn't scary at all. It gave me nothing. Like I need a book to give me nightmares. I need a book that makes me like question people and question motives. I questioned nothing. It wasn't giving what it was trying to give. So I didn't learn any lesson either. Other than the fact that I just need something that's like purely terrifying. So if you guys have any like amazing horror or even like psychological horror book recommendations, drop them in the comments below, because I need to be terrified. Like, this is coming from a girl that actually can watch Terrifier and Saw while eating. Like, I need something that's completely gruesome, jarring, jump scares. I need everything, and none of it was in here. Sorry. So, what would I change? There were some parts where it felt like just like uneasiness, so I would just play into that a little bit more, especially when it came to the best friend coming back and she would like have like an insatiable appetite type of thing. Like I'll lean more into that and like really finding the friend in very extreme situations, like even earlier on in the book. Now like leading up towards the end where it tries to be all like, ooh, yeah, I'm a monster type of thing. Sorry, I kind of gave it away a little bit. But like not towards the end, but like allude to it more towards the beginning, where it's like the main character would actually maybe like see her with like maybe like blood on her, like you know coming from the side of her mouth. Maybe she noticed, I don't know, just something, anything, just a little bit more uneasiness to it. Like she saw like something in a corner in the dark. That's like a little uneasy, but I mean like I watch scary stuff all the time, so that really didn't do anything for me. But like I wanted more, just more alluding to how weird this friend was, you know. I feel like it just needed more of that. Last one is South Beach Love. So obviously I read this as a physical copy. I got this from the Little Friends Library. Was it Little Friends Library? I think so. I think it was Little Friends Library. Yeah, because I did not pay for this book whatsoever. What stood out about this book? I mean, the food sounded good. That's really about it. I was just hungry. The food sounded good. Did I learn anything? No. Didn't learn anything either. What would I change about this book? I wouldn't really change anything about it. I mean, like, it's obviously on my pile of worst reads, but I really wouldn't change anything about it because, I mean, literally, if you look at the sticker, it says Hallmark. So if you're going to see a Hallmark sticker on a book, I'm expecting it to read like a Hallmark movie, and it did exactly that. So I can't really fault it in what it meant to give anyway. Like it gave what it was supposed to give in the first place. So I can't really fault the book at that. So it wasn't necessarily like terrible, as bad as these other books on my list were, but it was just like, you know, it was whatever type of thing, you know. Like there were some parts where it's just like we really didn't need that, but it's something I would expect in a Hallmark movie, so therefore in a Hallmark book it's definitely going to be in there. Alright, that's it for this video. If you like the video, be sure to like it. And I see some of y'all are watching my videos and are not subscribed. If you like my material, go ahead and subscribe so you at least know when I'm posting, because this month I'm posting literally every single day. So it's like having a Christmas present every single day for the rest of the year. You might as well go ahead and enjoy it while you can, you know. Because it's not guaranteed I'll do this much this much work in the next year. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All that jazz, all that cute stuff. So yeah, and until next time, which will literally be the next video. Bye.